Hey everybody, it's Dennis from Elgin Network LLC, and I'm the mad scientist for the company. Today is the first video that I'm going to do, which is going to show everybody the tools that you're going to need to put everything together that you want to do and the work that you're going to do. In order to do things, you need to have tools. So we have special tools that we use in electronics and computers that you want to get. Now, you don't necessarily have to get all these tools, but it's a good idea to get what you can. But I'm going to show you many different types of tools that we use and testers. And to start off with, what we have over here is we have a box that I use, which have the pliers of different types. We use these, which are all smaller pliers for doing boards and wires and everything like that. We use small screwdrivers like these. I also have types that are like these, which have different types of special heads on them, some of them. We use these a lot because there's a lot of different types of screws and holders for computers. So basically I put them all in here, and this kind of sits up on top of my table where I can grab it every time that I need. So for right now, I'm just going to put it right back here. One of the things I have is this. It's a magnifying. A lot of times you work on small circuits, small stuff. They're very hard to see. Get yourself one of these. It helps you out. You got yourself a little light that you can have on it. You have an extra eye loop for a little bit tighter looking at everything. So we use these a lot so that we can work on the smaller pieces and be able to see them, because some stuff's easy to see because it's big, some stuff is small. So we have that. We have these special tools here that's in this kit, and what this is designed for is this has different pieces in it, such as angled tweezers, little plastic pieces, which what these tools do is they help to get out keyboards and other things from laptops, because laptops, there's a lot of different ways of getting parts done. You don't want to scrape them, you don't want to scratch them. So this is what we use mainly for like laptops. We have other tools here too on this side, which are again are many different types of heads that we use for different types of screws, different types of nuts. You also have these little like guitar picks. We use these a lot to get things apart. So it's a very good kit to get. It's not very expensive, but it's something handy to have if you work on laptops or want to work on laptops. Save yourself money. You can buy an old laptop from somewhere, and if there's something wrong, you can fix it. They're pretty easy to fix, which I'll show you later in other films. And you can have a nice, beautiful running machine. Doesn't necessarily have to have Windows on it. We use Linux a lot on these machines, and they run beautiful. They do a lot of stuff, and they work great. One of the other main things you want to have is multimeters. And one is good, but you should get more than one. Here I've got two different types. I've got this older one here, which does some stuff, and I have a newer one. Here I have the newer type, which is a lot bigger. It also stands up, gives me a bunch of other things such as RMS and all that. These are tools, very essential tools to use. Help you to find out if things are working. Power is getting to where it should be. Power is coming in, power is coming out. It's the way you got to find out the steps of how to do things. Tools of the trade. So got two of them here. Plus, I'll show you in a little bit. I have a bench one that we use with the bench. I have other things which are brushes. These are used for cleaning boards, cleaning stuff so that you can look at it. Also, when you use some of the chemicals on it, when you're working on them, you can use to clean the chemicals. So it's a good idea to get yourself some brush. Again, these are very cheap, very inexpensive, very helpful to get. This is what a lot of us use, but you don't necessarily have to have one, but it would be a good idea to learn to have one. This is a pocket oscilloscope. I use this one when I go out in the field to help work on some systems so I can see how the logic is working on the computer and see how, if the voltage is working right, because voltage does have certain types of characteristics to it, as far as its hertz and everything else, and I'll go over some of that. And you want to make sure that all is working right, making sure it's the right levels. If they're not, then you know there's something going on in the system. So again, it's another neat little tool. Most people use them, most people don't. It all depends on what you want, but I would highly suggest getting one of these. And it's a pocket one. These go about $60, which is not a lot of money, and it's very, very good. What other things I've got here? This is what I call a frequency analyzer. What we use these for is when you work on certain radio equipment or Wi-Fi, you can actually see those signals with this. See how good they are, see the pattern of the signal, know what's going on, knowing that it's working. Again, I'm also a ham radio operator, so we use this a lot with ham radio, with working with antennas. But again, it's a great little tool, not very expensive, but you know, the more you get in tools, the more you learn, the more you can do things, and if you want to be a professional at this, the more you make. So that would be something else I would get. And then we got here, in here, I've got, we're going to open this up because I just got it. This is what I call a test for parts. You can put the parts in on this here ZIF socket, and basically you put them where they're supposed to be. You have a 9-volt battery attached to it, and what it does is when you press the button, it'll show you the value of it, so you know what it is. Because some things may not be marked, you may not know what it is, but this little tool here will help you figure out fast and easy, without using a meter or anything, to show you exactly what you're working with, which is great. It's an easy, simple tool, very inexpensive, especially when you work with a lot of different parts, or you're working on something you have to change a lot of parts. Again, I like using these. They're faster and easier than using the multimeter to check things. We've got here, this here is used for testing. These are used for when you get into deeper stuff. If you want to do it, you can. If you don't, these are basically a logic analyzer. And what they do is you hook them up to USB ports, and you check the logic between the USB ports and certain parts to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. And it does hook up to your computer, and there's software that you can run, so you can actually see what it is. And when the logic or the information comes in and out through it into the software, you can set it up so that you can sit there and say ASCII, hexadecimal, different types of stuff like that. If you put it on ASCII, what it will do is it will actually show you what you've typed on the screen that's coming through to the port, and it'll actually print it out and show you all the different letters and the length of them. So again, it's a great little tool to use. It helps a lot with a lot of things. Again, some of this stuff is more for advanced people, but again, when you have time, money, they're great things to get, great things to learn. Oops, drop that one. Okay. Another component I have here is what we do a lot of, which there's a lot of problems, is USB ports. USB ports can only handle so much, and so what we do is we use these little testers here, and when you plug this in, it has a little reading on here. It'll tell you the voltage, the amperage, the wattage, and then when you plug in something to this, what it will do is it'll tell you what that product or that part that you're plugging in is, what kind of a load it's putting on your USB port. Because sometimes all of a sudden you're using a USB port and something's working in it and it stops. And the reason why it stops is because of the fact that you're plugging in something that the USB port can't handle. So this tells you the load, tells you what's going on with it, and tells you why you're having issues with the port and what's going on with that product. So another great little, these are great little testings. They're not a lot of money, but they help you a lot, doing a lot of things very fast and very simple. So we like to get things like that. Then what we have here, we have a lot of cords. I'll take some of these out, but many different types of what we call test leads. And we use these different types of test leads. Dropped again. Many different types of test leads we use for working in the multimeters they work on. They work on the power supply that we have over here. They work on the other multimeter over here. So you can have a bunch of them, because a lot of times you're going to be wanting to hook up and see off a multimeter what you're seeing from the multimeter, and you're going to want to see from the power supply, having it hooked up and saying, okay, these wires are hooked up and they're set to, let's say, 15 volts at 1 amp, and then you have your multimeter hooked up to see if it says that you are getting the 15 volts, 5 volts, whatever, and 1 amp. So these are, again, very inexpensive. We use a lot of them, a lot of different equipment, since I have many different types of, again, the handheld meters and a desk. That's why I get a lot of these. There are a lot of different types of connectors for these. Just like these are alligators. Plug it in, the alligator you can plug in, and you can keep this where it's going to stay all the time on something, and it doesn't have to be moved. Another thing I like to use, which again, they're not very expensive, and it's a great little tool, is again, you can hook this up to a multimeter, and it's basically a tweezer with the plus and minus on it, so you can touch both ends of parts and see if that part's working. Because if the part's broken, such as diodes or Zener diodes, they burn out inside. If you go dead and there's nothing there, then you know it's bad. Instead of having to take two, all the time, 2 meters like this, just this one thing, boom, that fast, boom, it makes your job easier and faster to test stuff. So again, I would get something like this. And, again, these are all the stuff that we use because, again, I am a professional. I do this a lot. I've been doing it for many, many years. I've built computers. I've designed stuff for computers. There's a lot of neat things that throughout my different videos I'm going to show you how to make stuff to work with different types of computers. Well, I'm going to show you videos on what we call credit card single board computers, which are little tiny things. A lot of people know them as Raspberry Pis, but there are a lot of them out there. And I work with all of them. I have all of them. And the reason why is because we use them to do different things. Some of them are not just meant to be as just a computer, which they can be. They can replace your desktop depending on how much memory it has on it and the speed it is, to doing AI, to doing scientific calculations, and they range anywhere from $35 to $200, depending on what you want to pay and what you want to do. One of the other nice things I have here to show you, this little stand here, and I use this a lot, especially working with these small, what we call surface mount ICs, is this is a microscope. And basically I mount this microscope into here, and then what we can do with it is we can then take the board that we're working on, I don't have one available, and you put it underneath and it's got a light, and this plugs into your computer, and you can see on your computer screen something that's very tiny that's hard to see with your eye, now nicely big and magnified, and you can get in there to do things such as soldering it or desoldering it. And again, that's something I will be showing you later on, and how to work with surface mounts, because surface mounts are used a lot today. When I first started with this, there was only very few. All of it was what we call through hole, which is a lot bigger, a lot easier to solder and work with. You didn't need magnifying glasses or anything to see it, because it was big enough that if you were blind, you could still do it. Given my age, basically, it is hard for me to see some of the stuff. Some of the things we get, and I suggest, is this is what we call a circuit board holder. And what this is used for is when you're working on projects, you can lock the boards in here, and it makes it easier for you to turn and do stuff while you're soldering. And it's like a third hand or a fourth hand, or however you want to call it. You can adjust it back and forth, you can turn it however you want, and it's just a big help with you getting parts done on what you're working on. Again, it's another type. This one is kind of a weird looking one, but this one we can use with many different types of weird boards that are around. This can also be used with bigger boards because of the length that comes out and the way it's designed, and you can get it so it's held in place and be able to work on everything and not have to worry about it sitting flat. You don't have to worry about trying to turn over things. You don't have to worry about being wobbly. You don't have to worry about when you put certain parts in it, they're going to fall down before you solder them. So we use these a lot. One of the other tools I would suggest you get, again, they're very cheap. And this is basically like the X-Acto set. There are different sharp knives, tweezers, small screwdriver for changing out some of the blades. But a lot of times you're going to need this stuff. It'll help you with certain projects. There have been a lot of times that I was doing stuff and I'm like, oh man, I wish I had these. Well, again, I went online, I looked, and they're not that expensive. They're very cheap now. A lot of stuff used to be expensive, and it's not. But again, all this is you spend the money, and it's going to make you money. So if you spend $10 on this, and you work on a project, and you need to use this, and you make 40 bucks on it, you just paid for your 10 bucks for this. So, I mean, that's why we do that. And then what I have here, which I'll take out and show you, is what I like to use a lot, again, because it's easier for me, is this is a oscilloscope. And what this does is this plugs in to your computer, and with the software it brings up the actual oscilloscope screen that has all your squares and everything else. This is a dual channel, and basically you test it, make sure it's working right, and then when you go to use the oscilloscope to test different parts and different frequencies and stuff, you can actually see it on your computer screen, and it's a lot easier to see, it's a lot easier to do, and it's very accurate. And again, for the price of this, it's great. If you don't want to spend a lot of money and have another big piece of equipment on your desk, I would go with this. This is one of the main brands. A lot of people like it. It works great. It does what we want it to do, and it makes the life a lot easier. And the whole kit comes with all the probes, comes with the USBs for the computer, and it helps you to see and know what is really going on with what you're doing. So those are just some of the tools that we use. I'd like to show you over here. Let me turn the camera a little bit. I'll move these parts out of the way, and I'm going to show you basically what I got here is this mat. These are a special silicone mats. These are the silicone mat. These can handle up to 900 degrees Fahrenheit. And basically they don't burn, they don't melt. So when you're working on your projects, you don't have to worry about burning the tabletops or whatever you're working on. You're working on these, a lot safer, a lot better, and use them a lot. The other thing that helps with these is when you take stuff apart, you have little things here where you can put parts, so you can know, take this part out, you know where you put it in here, so you can remember when you put it back, you can put it back the way that you remember. So because there's a lot of things where you, a lot of times, take all the parts out, put it in there, put it in there, put it in there. When it's time to put it back, you're like, oh man, did this one go here? Did this one go there? So this helps you to remember when you set it up, what went where. This is also set up to where if you want, you can take some of your, if you the dish that you're using all the time, and they both have it, you can set up here little slots for screwdrivers, for the smaller ones if you want in here. Has little holes here to stick stuff, especially if you're using something all the time. So you got these, that helps out a lot. The other nice thing is there are some of these spots on these mats that they have magnets. So basically, if there's parts that you are very small or you don't want to lose them, you can throw them on magnet areas and they're not going to go anywhere, they're not going to roll away. These little cover things are for stuff that's important that you want to put in there, keep them covered. This one here I don't have all that because this one is my main one for doing a lot of bigger stuff. I also have here a camera set up, and I'll show you again later. This one set up, I can do everything when I want, up, down, all around. And basically what this does is it gives you views of what I'm doing, and it gives you a nice view of everything. I also have where the microscope I can set up, and also put that in, and you'll see the view from the microscope, so you can see the actual this is how small it is when you're looking at it normally, and then on a microscope it's like, wow, okay, and it looks really big, and it's actually not. So we're going to be doing that. Computer, This computer I use a lot for, again, the test equipment software. I use it for notes. I have schematics that I have on it. So I have that. I have extra lighting in case I need lighting, because you want light. You want to make sure you have a lot of good light so you can see. One of the good things you want to get, and I don't say you have to get it right now. You don't have to spend the money. You can buy yourself just a regular soldering iron. That's fine. Try to get one where you can have multiple tips, multiple sizes, because you'll learn that you're going to need certain tips for certain things. This one, I like this particular tip most of the time, but there are other tips that I use. This particular unit is what we call a rework station. And what a rework station is it allows me to use the soldering iron to solder, and then when I'm working with surface mounts and I want to take a bad IC off, or a bad resistor or capacitor at surface mount, we have ways of, we use this, which is basically a hot air gun, and you get in there with it and you let it heat it up, and all of a sudden it comes free and you take it out. And once you clean it up, get the new part, and you set it up, put the new part in, and again you use that to heat it up, put the part back in. So these are very, very handy and very good, especially with a lot of the small parts. You can use the soldering iron to do that too. There is special ways, but it takes a while. It takes a skill to do it with just the soldering iron. But if you have a lot of the right chemicals and the right stuff, it works great. So basically, I've got some of my toys up here that I've done. I've got other things here. What I've got in this little box here, I keep up here because this is where all my, this is what I have is different rolls and different sizes of solder to use. You want to make sure you have plenty of flux. What this stuff is basically, it's kind of like a goop in a way, and it's very messy and sticky, but you want to use this because this helps with the solder going where it needs to go, and it helps keep where it should be. I also got in here a toothbrush, because we use that like once we get some of the flux, we want to redo stuff. You know, you want to make sure you clean everything real good, make sure it's all nice and clean, and then that way it's easier for you to rework stuff. And then this here, this is what we call, again, liquid flux pen, which you go over things, and it's all liquidy and it helps. And again, not expensive, but you'll see later on why we have this stuff, why we use it, and why it makes it easier. Down here, I got some more, I got some Allen wrenches for stuff. We have what we call solder suckers, when you want to remove from what we call the open hole stuff. We use this. You take the iron, heat it up, take this, and then it sucks the solder out, so it takes all the solder out of the hole that it's sitting in, so you can pull the part out. One of the other things I've got in here, which you'll want, is many different types of tweezers, which are very helpful with holding parts, getting parts, because some parts are going to be hard to get, some parts are going to be in hard areas, so you know, you're going to want to have something like that. And again, it looks like a lot of money, it looks like a lot of stuff. Yes, some of it can get expensive, but do you need all this stuff right now? No. What you need basically to start out with is some small screwdrivers, some couple pliers, a decent soldering iron, good lighting, and start that way. Again, I will be having other videos showing you how to do open hole soldering, which can show you how you use a lot of simple stuff with that. And then I'll show you how to do surface mounts, where it's a lot more tedious and you need all the other special tools. I will also help show everybody how we work on computers to find out what the problem is. And what I have down here is I've got the different heads for the hot air gun, because it uses different size heads. This here, these are special wires that they help in some cases to get solder off of stuff, because this melts, but it melts at a different temperature, and when it melts at a different temperature it also cools very fast, and so it sucks up the solder that's on the board to it. So it's a great thing to use. I have more different types of, again, flux here, or no, this is actually, I'm sorry, this is what we use a lot for doing surface mount stuff. This is the actual liquid or paste solder. And that's what you use a lot to put surface mount stuff in. Take a little bit and go along, and then basically when you set the part on it, it kind of like sticks there, and then so you take the heat gun, when you heat the gun up, it's done. It's not regular solder, it's a liquid in a way, like a paste. One of the things I like to use too, again, you don't have to have these, but it all depends on what you're going to do, how much you're going to want to do. These are little mini solder suckers, or not solder suckers, part suckers. Basically what we do is we can put these little rubber heads on it, like so. Yeah, it's a little tricky. And a little hard to do. But yeah. Anyways, what it's designed to do is, when this little head is on here and you're working on a part, again, this material doesn't burn. You can have this on and you have it running, and it's kind of like a little suction cup on there, so when you have the soldering iron, if you're using the soldering iron, once it's leaked, you can pull it and part comes up on this. And I've got 2 of these. Again, something that you want to use, you can use. If something you don't want to use, it's up to you. And, it depends on what you want to buy and everything else. I'll go over more of this later, but in these trays here are parts. I haven't labeled yet because I just got them, but I got this one here, I got a bigger one that I'm working on right now. But this is where I know, when I label, that I have parts like LEDs for replacing stuff. So I've got that. This guy right here, this is the power supply. This is what is it, 40 amp, 30 volt power supply. Pretty much what you want to use. This right here, it's kind of old, but it still works great, and it's one of the best there is. It's a Flux multimeter for the desk. The nice thing about this one is this is a dual. Basically, it allows you to see a voltage in one spot, amperage in another spot, so you have 2 views of everything instead of one, which is on a regular hand. Same thing with these. These have a dual where you see amperage and voltage. So for now, that's my quick little tour of things for this moment. Thank you for watching my first video. And what I'm going to be doing later is I will be going into, like I said, step by step on this is what you got. This is how you work with it. I'm going to show you different parts, what they do. I'm going to show you different equipment that we work with. Like again, Arduinos, Raspberry Pis. I'll go over that. I'll go over soldering techniques and how to do that. I'll even show in a couple of videos, which may. Okay, so any other things that you want to do and have around is some liquids. I don't keep them over here. I kind of put them off to the side because I don't use them all the time. When I do use it, I'll only take one. I'll make sure it stays away because basically they're flammable. And we fill them up, we mark them. This one here, this is acetone. Acetone's used great for cleaning stuff. It's good with getting the rosin off or the flux. This here is what I call nail polish acetone. It's a little different than the real acetone. This has got other things in it which tone it down a little bit, so it's a little easier on stuff. Then we have different alcohols. This happens to be what we call denatured alcohol. You drink the stuff, you'll go blind and dead, but it's 100% alcohol, and it helps a lot again with cleaning boards and cleaning contacts and cleaning stuff like that. And then I also use regular isopropyl alcohol, which is good and fine. Try to get anything that's 90 or above, because what that says is it's 90% alcohol, 10% water. And the reason why you want this higher number is because what we use this a lot for is when boards have had water damage. Somebody spilled something on it. This cleans that up, helps get it all out so you can see it better if you need to fix it. So we use this. Another product that we use a lot, and it's really great. This is very, very, this is called solder Flux. Very liquidy, very runny, but it works great, especially when, again, you're trying to take parts off or parts on. Put enough of this on, once you hit the heat, everything just sucks, all the metal sucks where it needs to go. You don't get any bridges, you don't get anything stuck together in places. This helps it to go where it needs to go when you use these products. So that's all I got for here today on this particular video, and I hope you like it. I hope you're going to come back again for my next video. What I'm going to be doing on my next video is I'm going to turn around and show you different parts, what they are, what they do, so you know that. So it's all kind of a little boring, but it helps to know all this stuff because you know what you're going to do later on. Once you know this stuff, it makes your life a lot easier. From showing you parts, the next thing we're going to do is show you the different components and stuff that we do. Again, the different types of computers, the different types of modules and everything else we work with, and doing all that, show you all the neat things that you can build with all this stuff. And it's exciting, very exciting. It's a great accomplishment to sit there and make a temperature sensor, okay, of your own, or make a water level sensor. So we'll teach you how to do stuff like that. So you learn all these neat, fun things to do. From there, I'm going to show you other things as far as how to do some programming. Yes, even though you're a hardware person, you don't necessarily have to do programming. You don't have to understand programming. But if you want to make more money, you want to get more ahead in this business and doing things, I would suggest doing some programming. The most common programming today still It's at the top of the list is Python. A lot of the boards out there that we use for doing experiments and all kinds of other fun things, they used to have them, which was the original Arduinos. You would program in C language. But lately, other companies, such as a nice big company in New York, which is called Adafruit, Lady Ada, odd name, but I know why she was named that. She has a great company. They have great products, a lot of stuff that you can buy and build and make, and they're now using in their products Python. So you program it in Python, which is a lot easier to program, especially if you're young to an adult. Python is more of a it's more of a language that is a language. It's written kind of where when you read in English, you're doing the code basically in English without all these weird different, commas and pluses and minuses, I mean, there's some of that, but you're not using all these weird int or all kinds of other strange things in there. It's all straightforward, easy to read, easy to learn. So we'll be showing you that. And then again, I will walk you through working on some pieces of equipment and getting them working again. I will go over showing you different operating systems, what you can use with different operating systems. Windows is not the only thing out there. Mac is not the only thing out there. Myself, a majority of my equipment that I have and I use, and I've been using it for quite a long time. I work with Linux. Linux is a very good system. For those of you who don't know, it's bigger than Microsoft. Let's put it this way. People don't understand it, but it is. It's bigger than Microsoft. Linux basically is it's on computers. If you have an Android phone, actually the Android operating system is a form of Linux. The iPhone, again, since the OS X or 10 from Apple is now all back-end Linux based, so it's in a lot of stuff. They're used in it's used in mainframes. IBM uses it now in all their mainframes. The airlines. I've gone to one of the main major buildings here in our area, which is what they call a TRACON Center. And they have scopes and everything in there, and they're watching all the planes, and they're telling them where to go and what to do. And the scopes, they're run on Linux. The only piece of equipment in that whole entire building that these people have that is a Microsoft-based product or computer is the computer that prints out the flight strips. I mean, that's how much they don't trust it. I mean, that's all this thing does. Print out flight strips. Everything else that's critical is all run under Linux. The space program, majority of it's all run under Linux now. So I'll teach you some of that, teach you the different stuff that there is available for it. Whether you want to do it or not, that's your choice, but if you read a lot of stuff that goes on with all these other operating systems, Google does it, Amazon does it, Microsoft does it. When you pay the money to buy it, you're wasting your money because the thing is, it's not yours. It's literally not yours to own. Okay? You're just paying a price to use it, and that's it. You don't own it. Okay? Even with a lot of other stuff, the way they write it, and if you read it, it's pretty scary. But the point is, you're buying something you don't own. It's not yours. They have the right to do whatever they want. Okay? So, with Linux, depending on what you're buying and what one, is free. It's free software. Everything for it is free. A lot of people work hard doing it. And the thought behind doing it for free is to make it more challenging for people, to make it better for people to do exactly what they need without having to have legal problems. So that's why it's used so much in different stuff, because it can be made exactly what needs to be done. There's no code that's missing, nothing's hidden like Microsoft and everybody else does. So again, I'll go over all that and a bunch of other things. But what I'm trying to do is trying to show you how, to do stuff with electronics, show you how to do stuff with computers. That's what we do here. And to just give you an idea how fun this hobby is. I've been doing this a very, very long time, and I've seen a lot of changes, and to me it's very fun, it's very satisfying. Unfortunately right now, I work at home. Most of the time I do work at home, but when I have to do a lot of the bench stuff, I do go to another place. But lately I've had to bring a lot of stuff or buy extra stuff to do it here because of what's going on. I do have other people that work for me. Luckily, we can run the company and have been running the company remotely. So I'm one of those people where I'm lucky enough that I can roll out of bed, take a couple steps, sit down, and I'm at my office. So that's one of the nice things about owning your own company and owning your own business and doing stuff. But again, I hope you guys liked everything I did. I hope you got something out of what I showed you. And I will see you next time in the next video. And hopefully we'll have